Okay, so get ready to look at your racket a whole new way. Because today we're diving deep into pro racket stringing.
With me today.
With the best stringer worldwide online course as our guide.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but
Right.
I always figured stringing was pretty, straightforward, just threading it and tying it off and that's it.
Right.
Turns out it's so much more than that.
It is. It's way more nuanced.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating, actually. It's this blend of art and science.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about getting the strings in there.
Right.
It's understanding how those strings and their tension and the material, all of that is going to impact your game.
Yeah, and that's what I found so interesting looking at this course description.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they even have a whole section on customizing string bed stiffness.
Yep.
To be honest, I'm not even sure I fully understand what that means.
Right.
But it
That
sounds
sounds very precise.
incredibly precise, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. The string bed is kind of like the trampoline of your racket,
Okay.
and the stiffness of it dictates how much the strings are going to flex when that ball hits.
Okay.
So a stiffer string bed means less flex, which can be good, It can offer more control, but maybe less power.
Okay.
But then a more flexible string bed, that can give you a lot more power.
Right.
But, maybe a little less control, so.
So there's like give and take there.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance, yeah.
So I'm a player who really thrives on those powerful serves and I'm all about the smash.
Yeah.
I'd probably want a slightly more flexible string bed.
Exactly. You want that trampoline effect to really launch the ball, right?
Okay.
And then on the other hand, you have players who are all about finesse and placement.
Right.
They might prefer a slightly stiffer setup,
Okay.
for that added control.
To really fine tune it.
Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And this course actually teaches you how to adjust string bed stiffness.
It does. It goes into the actual techniques that the pros use,
Wow.
like exploring things like string pattern density, even how you tie the knots.
No way.
All of that plays a role.
Okay, I'm already seeing how much I underestimated this whole thing.
Yeah, it's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
And I'm guessing the type of string itself plays a major role too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, what's the deal with those natural gut strings I've heard whispered about,
Natural gut, yeah.
in hushed tones on the court?
They're the real deal.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are often favored by the pro players.
Right.
But they do have their, they have their quirks.
Okay.
What makes them so unique is that they're made from, well, let's just say it's a natural material.
Yeah.
And this gives them just this incredible responsiveness and feel,
Okay.
which basically translates into better feedback from the racket for the player.
Okay, so better feel, but there's got to be a catch.
There's always a catch,
They
right?
sound expensive.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah.
And they are a little more susceptible to weather conditions, Humidity, that's their biggest enemy.
Okay.
But for those players who really demand the best natural gut,
Yeah.
it offers this really unique playing experience
Right.
that you can't really get anywhere else. Yeah, they can be a little high maintenance, especially when you compare them to synthetic strings, which
Yeah.
has come a long way
Well-
in terms of performance and durability.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
I always just saw synthetic gut on the pack of strings.
Yeah,
And just figured, okay, well, that's like the cheaper alternative.
right.
Never really thinking about what I might be missing out on.
Right.
What are the main differences I would, as a player, notice between, say, a synthetic and a natural gut string? Besides the price tag.
Yeah, so synthetics are generally made from nylon or polyester,
Okay.
and they offer, like I said, that really great durability and affordability.
Right.
But even within synthetics, you
Yeah.
have a whole range,
Yeah.
right? So you have, for instance, you have multi-filament strings, and those are designed to try to mimic that responsive feel of natural gut.
Okay.
And then you have monofilament strings, which are going to give you even more durability and control.
So if I'm picturing this right in my head,
Mhm.
it sounds like, choosing your strings is almost as important as choosing the racket itself.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's all connected.
And then on top of the material, you have that whole string gauge element that you always hear about.
Right.
What exactly does gauge mean?
Yeah, so gauge refers to the thickness of the string.
Okay.
So a thicker string, which would be a lower gauge number, tends to be more durable,
Okay.
but it might feel a bit, what we call boardy. It's not going to have as much feel or spin potential. Whereas a thinner string, so a higher gauge number,
Yeah.
that's going to bite into the ball more, can give you more spin, more feel,
Okay.
but you're sacrificing durability there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I tend to, like, break strings pretty frequently.
Right.
So maybe I need to be looking at a lower gauge then.
It could help with the string longevity, for sure.
Okay.
Now let's add another layer to this.
Oh, boy.
Remember how we were talking about string bed stiffness?
Yeah.
The trampoline effect?
Yes.
Well, both string gauge and material play a huge role in that too.
Okay.
So thinner strings are going to generally create a more flexible string bed,
Okay.
while thicker strings are going to result in a stiffer one.
Okay.
And then the material comes in and adds its own characteristics to the mix.
Wow.
So you can see how it all, ties together.
This is already making my head spin a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's say I've, like, carefully selected my strings. I've taken all this great advice.
Huh?
Now I'm guessing the tension is kind of that final puzzle piece.
It is.
Okay.
It's crucial. Yeah, tension is crucial to how your racket performs.
Okay.
It's measured in pounds, and it refers to how tightly those strings are pulled when they're strung.
Okay.
So higher tension is generally going to give you more control,
Okay.
but it can feel a little harsher,
Okay.
transmit a little more shock to your arm.
Right.
Lower tension, on the other hand, is going to give you that, what we call livelier string bed.
Okay.
More power, more feel,
Right.
but you might be sacrificing a little bit of control.
Wow, so many factors.
Oh, no, right?
No wonder this is like, professional stringing is practically its own science.
It is.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that, even things like temperature and humidity can have an effect on string tension.
It's true.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Is that really something that, like, as a more casual player,
Yeah.
I need to even be thinking about?
It is something to be aware of.
Okay.
Especially if you're playing in different climates. Because, you see, strings will expand and contract with those changes in temperature and humidity.
Right.
So hotter conditions, your strings are naturally going to loosen a bit.
Okay.
Colder temperatures will make them tighter.
So let's say, like,
Yeah.
I'm used to playing, in a cooler climate, and then I head off to, like, a tournament somewhere hot.
Right.
My racket might be playing a little differently than I'm used to.
Exactly. It's going to feel different.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why, professional stringers,
Yeah.
they'll actually adjust tension based on playing conditions.
No kidding.
Yeah. So they might, if they know you're going to a hotter climate,
Yeah.
they might string your racket a couple pounds looser
Oh, wow. Okay.
to compensate for that expansion.
So it's not just about finding, like, the perfect tension. It's about finding the perfect tension for, the climate that you're in.
Exactly.
This is all starting to make me think I need to, like, treat my racket with a little more reverence or something.
It's true. They deserve a little respect.
I had no idea there was so much involved
Yeah.
in something. Honestly, as,
It seems simple on the surface.
seemingly simple as, like, stringing a racket.
Right. And what's even more impressive is how the pros use this knowledge to actually troubleshoot and solve problems with rackets.
Okay. Troubleshooting. Like what? Don't tell me there's like a
Yeah.
secret language of, like, broken string patterns that can reveal,
Right.
why my serve was off that day.
Well, I don't know about a secret language,
Okay.
but experienced stringers, they really can often diagnose issues
Wow.
just by looking at the string bed.
No way.
Yeah, like where the strings have broken, the wear patterns on the string bed.
Okay.
It can tell a story about a player's style,
Okay.
even highlight potential issues with the racket itself.
So it's like detective work, but for tennis rackets.
Kind of, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I never would have guessed.
Remember those grommets we were talking about?
Yeah.
Those little protective inserts in the racket frame?
Yeah, those things are tiny.
Yeah, they are.
I feel like I only ever even notice them if,
Right?
one pops out or
No,
something.
well, if those are worn or damaged, it
Yeah.
can actually cause your strings to break way sooner, or
Yeah.
even affect just the overall feel of the racket.
Wow.
But the course, it shows you how to spot these things and fix
Right.
them yourself, which is really cool.
Okay.
I actually had a situation recently where my shots just felt a little bit off,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be this tiny little groove worn into one of the grommets
No way.
that was like subtly just sawing away at my strings every time.
You're kidding me?
Yeah.
I would never have thought to check that.
It's amazing what you start to notice
Right.
when you understand how all these little elements work together.
Yeah.
That's why, even if you're not trying to become a certified stringer or anything,
Right.
this course is really empowering
Okay.
just to kind of take that control back.
And speaking of becoming a certified stringer,
Yeah.
this course does have that as an option.
Right.
Right, does, yeah.
What's involved for those who might, be interested in, like, taking their love of stringing to the next level?
So they have the BSW certification, and that's like a globally recognized credential for professional racket stringers.
Wow.
And that involves completing their 4-day course and then passing both practical and theoretical exams.
Yeah, and then the course goes even deeper into all these different techniques, equipment, maintenance,
Wow.
customer service, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, you could actually turn this into a career,
Absolutely, yeah.
or at
Yeah.
the very least, really impress your tennis buddies
Exactly.
with all this knowledge.
That's right, you'll be the most popular one on the court.
Hey, can you string my racket?
Exactly. You got it.
That's amazing.
But, even if you're not aiming for, like, a whole career out of this,
Right.
just the knowledge that you can gain from it
Yeah.
can just really enhance your understanding and appreciation of the game itself.
That's what I'm taking away from this deep dive for sure. I came in thinking it was all just like, knots and tension,
Right.
but it's so much more than that.
Yeah. It is. It's the whole package.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying, from like, string material to gauge to tension, like it all interacts.
It's all connected.
It's amazing. And it really, I don't know, gives you this like, appreciation for what these professional stringers are doing.
Absolutely. There's an art to it, for sure.
It's an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for our listeners out there who are feeling, maybe a little bit inspired like me
Yeah.
to like, really up their racket game, what would be like your most important,
That's a good question.
piece of advice when it comes to, kind of navigating this world?
I would say don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Like, really talk to a professional stringer. Tell them about your game, what you like, what you don't like,
Right.
the conditions that you play in, and ask questions. Like, don't be shy.
Right.
Because, like we said, it's an art as much as it is a science.
Yeah.
And sometimes finding that perfect setup is about trying a few things and seeing how it feels.
I love that
Yeah.
experiment. Enjoy the process and really like, fine tune it to match your style.
Exactly.
This has been incredible.
It's been fun talking string.
I know. Who knew there was so much to say about
Yay.
these strings?
It's a whole world out there.
It really is. All right. Well, thanks for, taking this deep dive with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
Of course. And to all of our listeners out there, we will catch you in the next one.
We're the best stringer worldwide, passion and knowledge side by side. From badminton to tennis, we got you covered.